Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we will continue our discussion of the Nectar of Devotion, and we will talk about chapter 7 the of the book. So just in terms of the flow, in the sixth chapter, there was the summation of the 64 items. So the broad overall list of the 64 items was described. The first 20 being most important, the other 44 being additional. In the seventh chapter, 18 of these 20 potent angas will be there. The 19th item is exclusively described in the eighth chapter, and the 20th item will be described along with other items in the ninth chapter. Okay, so here we'll be speaking about 18 of these 20 items of primary importance. So the presentation that I will be doing is is a summation of a summation, right? So what Prabhupada does is, as you know, he does not translate Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He summarizes it into the nectar of devotion, and the format that he follows is that, which is Rupa Goswami's format, that he first places an item, the Guru Padashray, right? And then he will go ahead and he will present several Shastric evidences, mostly drawn from Srimad Bhagavatam, but from other places also, right? And in the interest of time, I will not be speaking so much about the references. I'll be focusing more on the excuse me, more on the item that is presented, practical application. My recommendation to the students is to refer to the Nectar of Devotion to get a deeper understanding of the references. So the first three items talks about Guru, and understandably it's the most important because the whole process of sadhana bhakti is under the guidance of the Guru. So without accepting a spiritual master, sadhana bhakti does not begin. Right. So Rupa Goswami first talks about the 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 process of accepting a guru. So the first point is Guru Padashray, which is accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, accepting initiation and receiving instruction, and serving the spiritual master with faith and confidence. So we'll dig a little deeper into each of these three. So the first is Guru Padashraya, right? And Prabhupada quotes a quote from Bhagavatam 11.321 and from Uddhav Gita, and that four things need to happen when one is looking for a spiritual master. Two is for the aspiring disciple, and two is for the potential guru. The aspiring disciple should have some sense of dissatisfaction with the material existence, right? So there has to be some desire to do better than what the material world offers, and this should be accompanied with some desire to make spiritual advancement, right? Now remember, this is a neophyte devotee. Does not mean that they're fully detached from material world and fully into spirituality, but that sense should be there. If a person is fully absorbed in the material world, then there's no need for the person to take. Or if he takes a shelter of a guru, it will not be for the right reasons. From the guru, the two qualifications are: one is the guru should be expert in the scriptures, because ultimately we don't want a guru who is speculating and speaking just based on their own thought process, right? The guru should speak what sadhu and the shastra says, right? And the second is the guru should be an acharya, in the sense that he should be practicing what he preaches. So when it is said equipoised, that is the nature of the spiritual instructions, that one becomes equal in happiness and distress and attraction to or repulsion to material things, right? So these are the four aspects of taking shelter of a bona fide guru. After having taken shelter, so first is approaching the guru. Like in ISKCON, we say that it is the trial, it is the trial period, right? So in the trial period, the disciple tries out the guru tries out the disciple, and to make sure that there is a meeting of the minds and there is sincerity, and then if that happens, then the next stage is diksha, right? So so diksha is formal commitment from both ends, because one can always talk to a saintly person and get some advice, and the advice that one will get is general advice. But when one takes diksha, then what follows after diksha is shiksha. So diksha is formalizing the relationship between the guru and the disciple. Within the realms of the formalized relationship, the guru should now instruct the disciple. Right? So one should not just take diksha for the sake of diksha. Right? Sometimes people like getting a spiritual name, so they'll take initiation. After that, they have very little contact with the guru. Or maybe if the guru has hundreds and thousands of disciples, the guru has no contact with the disciple. So the shiksha aspect is missing. Right? But what Rupa Goswami recommends here is that both of them should go hand in hand, and that's the basis of the relationship between a bona fide guru and a bona fide disciple. Also, uh, there are general instructions and there are confidential instructions, right? So the guru may not give the same siksha to all the disciples, right? Like Dronacharya, he he taught Ashwathama how to release the Brahmastra, but he taught Arjun how to also withdraw the Brahmastra, because he had he had more faith in Arjun. He had a closer relationship with Arjun as a disciple, even though Ashwathama was his son. So shiksha is not a static, not just a static recitation of verses, but it grows and deepens as the relationship deepens. Then serving the spiritual master with faith and confidence. So serving is the disciple's way of reciprocating the debt that he has from the guru. Now, in a way, the disciple can never repay the debt, but this is a token that by rendering loving service, menial service, by rendering whatever the spiritual master needs, and the the service of the guru is also a proxy to the service for the Lord. Right? So when the disciple is serving the guru with love and affection, it should be considered to be the same as serving the Lord with love and affection. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, "Yasha Prasada, Bhagavad Prasada." They are they are at the same level. Right? Now, the guru should never be considered on the same level as an ordinary human being. Now, the guru uh, disciples will see that the gurus fall sick, they may get old, they may have infirmities, they may get angry, but one should not judge the guru as an ordinary human being. All that set aside, the position of the guru is always transcendental. One should never be envious of the guru. Sometimes disciples see that gurus have so much of service coming to them, so much of love and adoration, and they develop envy. Right? So one should guard against that. Right? And 434, Krishna summarizes this in Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. Right? That importance of inquiry in the mood of service. So the first three items were about the guru. The fourth item is about sadhu. Right? Now, when I say the words of the guru must be confirmed by the sadhus, it does not mean that the disciple constantly takes the words of the guru and calls a bunch of people and asks them, is this true, is it not? The point is that as far as the tattva is concerned, they should be in resonance. Right? The guru should not speak something contrary to what other advanced devotees are speaking. And so this is to ensure that the guru is bona fide. So the disciple also follows the takes the shelter of saintly people. And the other thing is that the saintly people demonstrate the intricacies of the Vedas by their own activities. Right? In the Mahabharata, Yudhishthir makes this famous statement that scriptures are difficult to decipher. So the path followed by the great authorities, the Mahajans, is the real path. Right? The, the scriptures may give sometimes contradictory instructions, but the great personalities they're able to rationalize it, and they act in a certain way. How did Arjun act in the battlefield of Mahabharata when Abhimanyu was killed? Right, so many contradictory things happening. Father to son, as a um, as a warrior to another warrior, and then as a devotee to his service. How did he reconcile that? He resolved to take revenge. He made a vow that he would punish the wrongdoers, but he continued with his service. He did not lose his mental equilibrium. So this point of taking guidance by the activities of the sadhus. The fifth part is talks about the scriptures, inquiring about the eternal religious principles. Right. So the Vedas are essentially the basis of what the Guru says and what the Sadhu says. Right. So um, they all three of them should be in balance. And between the three, the Vedas are the most important, right? Because the Vedas are coming from Krishna. They form the basis. It is the Vedas that ask us to take shelter of the Guru. It's the Vedas that is asking us to follow the sadhus, right? So the Vedas form the basis. So in this way, when one takes shelter of all three, then one knows that they're following the right path. In the Padma Purana, it is said, Shruti Smriti Purnadi Pancharatrik Videvana Ekantir Harir Bhaktir Utpahatyeva Kalpa. And that and this so what it means is that one is neglecting the Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, Pancharatrik Vidi, and Ekantik Harir Bhakti. They're just speculating. So if one sees that a guru is doing like that, one should not take shelter of the guru. And same applies to oneself. One should not perform devotional service whimsically. It should be according to the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So we see that in the first five items, first three items talked about Guru, the fourth about the Sadhu, and fifth about Shastra. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Lord Buddha. And Lord Buddha is the Shaktivesh incarnation of Krishna, a Guru. But he did not speak as per the Shastra, right? He talked about the Shunyavadi philosophy, and what he said was not supported by the other Vaishnavas. So, even though this is Lord Buddha himself, an incarnation of Krishna, but his words are rejected because they fail this three-way check. Similarly, Shripa Shankaracharya, right? He did not, very, very elevated personality, but did not speak according to the scriptures, was not supported by other sages like Madhavacharya, Ramanacharya, etc. So the the the, the teachings are not followed. So the remaining five injunctions we have: being prepared to give up everything material for Krishna's satisfaction, visiting or living in a sacred place, right? So this is more visiting, like Mathura, Dwarka, Purushottam Kshetra, on the banks of river Ganges. So when one visits these holy places, one also associates with the devotees over there. One visits the, the pastimes that were performed there. So one's devotional life gets a boost there. Accepting only that which is necessary, right? So necessary also means practical. So one must be practical in executing one's devotional service. Srila Prabhupada was very, very practical. And when he first gave initiation to his first set of disciples, he said 64 rounds after initiation. Right? But then he realized that, and that was the standard that Bhakti Siddhanta had for those who stayed in the ashram. But then he realized it was different time. Like the disciples were also doing so much of preaching. There were a lot of them had their own professions. They were doing book distribution, etc. So he adjusted it to 16 rounds, right? So rather than taking things that are impractical and then breaking that vow, better to take practical vows. But of course, once the guru says 16 rounds, that becomes your that becomes your wow. Like you can't say that. Practically speaking, I'm busy this day, so I'll do 8 rounds. But the Guru has already taken that into consideration and given the instructions. Observing fasting on Ekadashi and Janmashtami and days like that, because there is more mercy of the Lord on this day. So the recommendation is one reduces one's material efforts like eating, etc., and one focuses more on chanting Krishna Katha, offering respect to banyan trees like and tulsi and other holy plants. Now the next items are that of prohibitions, right? So we did the first 10 items, which were the do's. Now we'll do the next 10, which are the don'ts. First, and the don't is giving company of non-devotees, right? No surprise over there. This is a recurring theme. We'll see that in Nectar of Instruction also. Asatta Sanktyaga, right? Because associating is very, very powerful. So Deva Upasakas, those who worship demigods, Mayavadis, or who are strongly materialistic people, their association should be given up. Right? Then 12 to 14 is not accepting unfit disciples, constructing many temples, or reading many books. So these are for those who are who are sadhakas but have advanced enough to now to be also act as gurus. So the recommendation to them is do not take unfit disciples, which means don't take disciples just for the sake of disciples. Sometimes for gurus it becomes a number game. I have 10,000 disciples, I have 50,000 disciples, and they don't really care whether they're qualified or not. Similarly, constructing many temples, it's becomes a material endeavor. Or reading many books, one tends to become speculative. Right? Now, these are prohibitions if they're driven by materialistic ambitions. However, if they're driven by a strong desire to serve Krishna, then they are not to be rejected. 15 is straightforwardness and ordinary dealing, which is having a simple heart, and equilibrium in loss and gain, which is another way of saying developing material detachment. 17th is respecting the devas. Right? So one should not confuse the position of the devas with Krishna. One should understand that it is Krishna that is empowering the devas. But one should also understand that devas themselves are devotees of Krishna. That's how they got in the position. And disrespecting them is like committing Vaishnava Prant. Not giving pain to any living entity. Right? So especially like performing yagyas in which animals are sacrificed, etc. Or in general, one should be careful. Like Srila Prabhupada um, once he saw a small insect in his room in Mayapur, and he called his disciple, and he asked him to carefully pick it up and put the put outside. Right? So that sense of compassion for all living entities. So this is the end of chapter 7. This brings us to the completion of the first 18 items of the 20 most important items. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.